Hi, welcome to this part of my review featuring the Gemknight RPG. If you haven't seen the other parts of my review featuring this magical girl style tabletop RPG, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about combat and weapons. Before battle begins, the Game Master will call for an initiative test. Each Gemknight will roll 2 6-sided dice, but this time you are going to add their values. You are going to obtain a number from 2 to 12. The highest number goes first, and so forth. When it comes to combat turns, each round begins with the first turn in the initiative order and ends with the last. This continues until all the forces of one side are defeated or until an objective has been reached. Each turn during combat, combatants have 2 actions. These actions can be used to move, attack, or perform other tasks, like for example using a power or giving an item to an ally. Movement is defined by announcing your destination, and the Game Master will determine if it can be reached in a single action, assuming each combatant can move 25 feet within one action, that is the normal movement, unless the Game Master indicates otherwise. When it comes to attacking, this is a key aspect of combat, of course. To attack, one must be within range of the enemy, and once in range, the attacker will roll an attack test. If using the weapon they have mastered, that character will roll with advantage, that is 3 6-sided dice. If they are merely proficient with the weapon, the attack test is a standard 2d6. Unarmed combat and improvised weapons result in a test with disadvantage, 1d6. On a successful attack test, the enemy takes 1 point of damage, unless modified by a weapon or power, or if the Game Master decides otherwise for exceptional role-playing. 2 special actions in combat are Focus and Evade. Focus allows the next attack to succeed on a roll of 4, 5, or 6, increasing the chances of hitting the enemy. This focus remains in effect until an attack is made or the end of combat, but it doesn't stack with additional focus actions. Evading allows trying to avoid being hit by any attacks until the start of your next turn. When successfully hit by an enemy, you can test rolling 1d6, and if the test is successful, the attack is evaded and no damage is taken. Let's talk about weapon categories. In Gemknight, there are 4 categories of weapons: unarmed, light melee, heavy melee, and ranged. Though you can attack with improvised weapons such as a bar stool or a rock, these do not fall under any weapon category. These categories are pretty self-explanatory, but there are some nuances. For example, in the case of unarmed combat, you need to be within your enemy's face, really close to the enemy, to attack. When it comes to light melee weapons such as daggers, short swords, etc., they offer the advantage of only needing one hand to wield. You can use your other hand to do other things or carry objects. When you employ a light melee weapon, you need to be close to your opponent, but not as close when it comes to unarmed combat. Concerning heavy melee weapons, these include greatswords, warhammers, motorcycles, quite cumbersome but very powerful. Attacks made with heavy weapons require 2 hands to wield, of course, and you deal 2 damage instead of 1. But you may not make a second attack or use a power trait this turn. Conversely, if you attack with any other weapon or power trait, you may not attack with a heavy weapon this turn. They can also be used to hit targets at near zone, that is pretty close but a bit far when compared to light melee weapons, but you do so at a disadvantage. So this is to reflect the reach of spears, claymores, etc. When it comes to ranged weapons, including throwing axes, shuriken, slings, energy blasts, pretty much anything, these weapons often require 1 hand to hold and 2 to operate. Judgment must be used when determining their usage. All targets on the field are considered within range for attack, unless protected by cover as declared by the Game Master. Ranged weapons take 1 action to load, or prepare or aim, and 1 action to fire, and unless otherwise noted, it is assumed that you always have enough ammunition. There are some unique weapons that do not fit within a certain category, such as the Bastard Sword, which can be employed as a one-handed weapon or a two-handed weapon. Or the Whip. This weapon is basically a long braided leather cord with a metal tip, but can also be made of interlinked rings or a metal chain. It can be used to attack enemies that are a bit too far away from you, still within range of a melee weapon, but you do so at a disadvantage. You are obviously going to want to use your whip in case you want to hold something in your other hand. Now, this game can be played on a grid with miniatures, but you also have the optional rules of zones. I really like these zones rules. Each Gemknight basically occupies a range within 3 distinct zones: close, near, and far. In the close zone, you can attack with light melee, heavy melee, or ranged at a disadvantage. In the near zone, you can attack with heavy melee at disadvantage or ranged. In the far zone, you can attack with ranged weapons only. So this is abstract but simple. It depends on how far away your enemy is from you, and I actually prefer these abstract rules to the grid rules when it comes to this particular Gemknight RPG. And this concludes this part of the review. In the next part, we are going to talk about hard points and magic. The rules are very simple, very easy to understand. And I really like the abstraction of the zones. I think it fits this particular system better. This is not an especially crunchy system, so abstracting the movement, the zones, fits in better with the rest of the rules, in my opinion. Thank you for watching this part of the review, and thank you for your likes and your comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. And remember, it is better to roleplay and fail in character than not to roleplay and fail as a player. Once again, thank you, and see you later.